Good afternoon. I am Stephanie Adkins, and this is my applied project, a resource guide for promoting student belonging in cooperative learning classrooms. The NAGC standards that I cover mainly are 1.3, which is self-understanding. Students with gifts and talents demonstrate understanding of and respect for similarities and differences between themselves and their cognitive and chronological peer groups and others in the general population, as well as 4.2, social competence. Students with gifts and talents develop social competence manifested in positive peer relationships and social interactions. I wanted to start with something to think about. There's a quote by Dr. Dina Simmons that says, "We can't do anything, we can't take risks, we can't breathe freely without feeling like we belong." So if we really truly believe that all children should succeed, all children should thrive, then we have to start with belonging. And this is the basis of what this presentation is about. Twice a year, all Georgia students take a school climate survey. The results of that survey from 2019 are on the left, and this is the most recent data. The blue category is attendance, average of attendance. The red is discipline reports. The yellow is bullying or harassment reports. And the green is what I'm focused on, which is the overall school climate perceptions, which is a survey that students, staff, and parents take. And at 86.5, it's actually very good. But when I broke down that survey by the different categories, students, staff, and parents, you'll see by the chart on the right that students reported only 77.7% compared to staff felt the climate was great, exceptional at 92.6%, and parents were at 89.1%. So that gives us our average of 86.5. So that made me start thinking about, why is students' climate perceptions of their school so much lower than the staff and the parents? Why do students not have the same perception of the school climate as the adults do? And how do we get the students' percentages up into the 90s, more even with the staff and the parents? So from those results, I came up with two questions that I really wanted to answer by conducting my research. Number one, how can we increase student climate perception to 90% where parents and staff perceptions are? And also, how can teachers create a learning environment that meets the needs of gifted learners while also promoting positive social interactions between students of different abilities? We need all of the learners in our classrooms to be able to feel like they belong and to be able to feel like they're able to learn to their ability levels and to be challenged. And I also decided to put here the survey questions that the elementary students were actually asked in grades 3 through 5, so that way you would have a view of what the questions actually were asking. So why is this important in our schools at Ivy Creek? So all of the classes at Ivy Creek are heterogeneous classes, and your gifted students will be placed with a gifted certified teacher, and there's usually about 4 to 6 gifted students in each gifted certified teacher's class. Gifted and high achieving students need to be able to be taught at their ability level, be able to be challenged, be able to be pushed, and be able to also collaborate with peers that are of the same ability as they are, the same ability level. However, gifted students aren't necessarily gifted in every subject area. So this allows for us to be able to do more collaborative learning with peers that are not on the same ability level, or maybe they're on the same ability level in science and social studies, whereas the student's gifted in math or reading. So it allows for our gifted students to be able to collaborate with students of all abilities, and it helps build a trust, a relationship, an understanding that we have differences, but that we can still work together and have very successful results. It increases their learning, it promotes thriving in the classroom, and having those positive interactions results in building a stronger classroom climate, which is best for everyone. So I created a resource guide that will be available to all of the teachers at Ivy Creek to be able to use as a resource for setting up their classroom, gives them strategies and activities that they can use that I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slides, as far as being able to build that sense of community, have that sense of belonging, that classroom climate that's positive early on, establish it early on, so that way as the year goes on, they can continue to work on understanding each other, supporting each other, and really becoming a family. So the staff at Ivy Creek, there's a range of teachers that have between bachelor's degrees and doctorate degrees. Most of the staff either has a master's degree or specialist degree. 20% of our teachers have taught between 21 to 25 years. So these are teachers with a lot of experience who have a lot of strategies and a lot of ideas, but sometimes you just need like a new idea or something that you haven't thought about or haven't used in 10 years, that when you go and look at the resource guide, just kind of jogs your memory like, oh, I used to do that. And it really worked in building a sense of climate, school climate, or community in my classroom. So sometimes we just need another resource with just some ideas that we don't have to spend 2 hours on Google looking for, that somebody else has already done that work for you. And here you have a condensed resource guide of different strategies that you can pull out and very quickly implement. Some of the strategies that I talk about in the resource guide are how to create a welcoming environment. So setting up your classroom to where it flows and it allows for a lot of movement and a lot of group work, as well as how do you group students that you don't know yet, that you haven't really gotten to know because it's the first day of school or the first week of school, and being able to kind of use different ideas to create random groups that can do activities that allow them to start working together as a team, supporting each other, building each other up, and then going from there into activities that really focus on building belonging and trust. And then leading into your second week of school or so, where you know your students, you're going to be doing your cluster grouping for your gifted students for your reading and math, and also being able to do other collaborative groups for science and social studies, and having activities to where they focus on curriculum, but also are able still to help students understand each other, support each other, and how they talk to each other, how they communicate, how when somebody gives the wrong answer, how do you work through that without making them feel like they don't belong, like they don't fit in? How do you teach students how to communicate in a group with each other? After the groups are set, after you know your students, after you've worked on making sure that they know how to speak respectfully to each other, making sure they know how to work through conflicts, making sure that they know how to build each other up, even if they do have a wrong answer or not a clear understanding of what they're doing, then how do we go and make sure that what we're doing is actually being effective in the classroom? After 6 weeks, after 9 weeks, you should start to be able to observe changes in the way that they talk to each other. I know in going to different classrooms, I can tell which classes have worked on being respectful to each other, how to talk to each other, how to communicate, even something as simple as lining up to leave the classroom, and the way that some of the students speak to each other and treat each other. It's definitely very obvious very quick which classrooms have that strong sense of community and belonging and which ones don't. So that's what I really want to have everyone be aware of and more observant of, is how your students are interacting, how you're treating them, as well as how they're treating each other. So observations are a quick way to evaluate the effectiveness. I also created just a quick 5 question check-in that you could use pretty much whenever, at the end of every month, at the end of every 6 weeks or 9 weeks, that you can just kind of check in with your kids, and it allows you to maybe target the ones that are still struggling, maybe some groups that are still struggling, and give you some additional ideas for working with them, going back maybe to some of the previous strategies and re-implementing them, as well as the Gwinnett, the Georgia climate survey that Gwinnett gives twice a year will be basically your final look at how are our kids improving? How's my classroom improving? If I look at my scores in October and my scores in April, have they increased? Is my classroom alone getting closer to where 90% or more of the students feel like there's a strong sense of belonging? There's a strong sense of community in my classroom, because that helps for the rest of their lives. If they learn how to communicate and talk as students, as kids, that helps them through middle school, that helps them through high school, that helps them in any kind of collaborative learning. A lot of our jobs and our work environments, such as teaching, require collaboration. Teachers have to be able to talk effectively to each other and respect each other's viewpoints, even if they're different from yours. So all of the skills that they're learning now are definitely helpful for them in their future. So just as I started this presentation with a quote, I wanted to leave with a quote as well. And here were a few of my favorite quotes that just kind of touched my heart, but one in particular by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that sense of belonging, the way that they feel in your classroom. They may not remember their classmates' names 20 years from now. They may not even remember your name 20 years from now. But when they look back at their school experience, those classrooms, those years that they felt like they belonged, that they felt happy and like they had a great learning environment, they'll remember that. They'll also remember if they felt like they didn't fit in, they felt like they didn't belong, they felt like they didn't want to be there. That's what they'll remember. So I just wanted to leave you with these thoughts, and have a good day. Thank you.